Gene Oliver.
Right.
Gene Oliver was on the same ship as Loose Sands at
Right.
Pearl Harbor. Talk to us. Where are you from, and when were you born, and all your
Born
vital
in the
signs?
same city as Loose Sands, San Francisco. Born in 1921, right in the middle of the Depression. I was one of 9 children that my mother had, and went all through the 30s in the Depression and working, selling newspapers, whatever we could do to pick up a quarter, you might say.
Yeah.
And in 1940, in December, I decided I would join the Navy, enlisted for 6 years, and thought I'll just see the girls and travel all around the world. Well, that didn't happen. I was assigned to a destroyer that was based in Pearl Harbor, and it was one of 8 destroyers that were there, all of the same type. In April of 1941, I arrived at the Dale, sitting in Pearl Harbor, and started out as a seaman. Was transferred over to the engineering department and was assigned to the engine room. Mm-hmm. And from there, for the 9 months, it was very peaceful there, quiet, warm, got some good liberties. And
have stories to tell about those?
Yeah. However, there were no girls there. There were more sailors than there were ants. But anyhow, it was very peaceful until the morning of December 7th, 1941. I was just coming up from down below where I had slept for the night, heading for what we ate. And about halfway up the ship, I heard an airplane, looked up, and it was just doing a bank, all silver with a huge red suns.
Did you know what it was?
No, I didn't know. I thought this must be a practice of some sort, because there was nothing going on, and the plane did a bank. It must have already dropped its bomb on one of the battleships, because it did not attempt to bomb us. And it took off, and I never did see it again. And one by one, you could hear some explosions at a distance, quite a distance. Couldn't figure it out what it was. Never really thought too much about it.
You were, let's see on the map.
Yeah.
You would have been up here.
Right, that's exactly where we were.
And this is down here is where the Arizona, and they were in this area, right?
Right.
Here. So you were, how far would you say that is?
I would say from the Arizona to where we were, I guess about a mile.
Okay. Here's the Arizona here.
Right.
And a mile up
right.
here, yeah.
So after general quarters was finally sounded, and which is, everybody is assigned to a certain station when they hear general quarters.
Battle stations.
Battle stations.
Yeah, exactly.
I was assigned to a 5-inch gun, powder man. Unfortunately, all our ammunition was locked up. There was nobody aboard that even had a key to it. So we were completely defenseless. However, we weren't being attacked at that time. And finally, after 15 minutes, we fired our first shot. But I think it ended up over in Honolulu, because most of the ammunition was defective from years and years of just laying around the ship. About 15-20 minutes after 8 o'clock, I was called on a loudspeaker to man a whaleboat. And that particular Sunday, my duty was the ship-to-shore whaleboat to transport officers, sailors, etc., and also early in the morning to pick up fresh milk and bread. So we manned the little whaleboat, which went about 4 miles an hour. And if I may have that
Sure.
this stick here. Like you said, I was stationed here, and in order to get to the officers' landing, this is the trip that I'll never forget. It was all quiet from here to here, but as we made the turn, was like going into the eye of the storm. There was the Arizona and all the rest of the battleships. Arizona had already exploded. The Oklahoma was somewhere in here. That had rolled over, and there were sailors standing on the side of the ship. The Japanese were still coming in, wave after wave after wave, and we just continued our mission here.
In a little boat.
In a little boat. You could see the Japanese pilots' heads because they were so low in order to drop the torpedoes or the bombs. And we sailed down in here, and the officers' landing was somewhere in this vicinity. After about hour and a half, we gave up trying to find the captain, and we decided we would go back to our ship. So we went back out, and going right from where we had come from, it was still under attack. It was the second wave of 350 planes that attacked it that morning. Went over to get to our ship, and it was gone. It had gone out the harbor. But there was one ship left. We went aboard it and went out to sea to join the rest of the fleet that had gotten out.
Down through the straits, yeah. Wow.
It was like having a seat on the 50-yard line.
How many men were on this little boat with you?
Just two of us.
Just
yeah,
two.
I was the engineer, and then we had a bosun mate that actually steered the ship.
Were there, well, did you see, grim question, but I mean, did you see bodies in the water?
Oh yes, saw bodies. Yeah, there was a lot of oil in the water. Some of it was on fire, and but we just kept sailing down looking for the captain, because when you have an order, you follow that to the last letter, which we did. In retrospect now, not being the captain of the little whaleboat, I often think that we should have stopped looking for the captain and tried to rescue, which we could have, quite a few sailors that had been in the water, oil soaked, and maybe some dead, and but we didn't. And that still haunts me to this day. But had we not gone to get the captain, or we could have been court-martialed for not following our order. So that was it.
Now, you mustered and rejoined the Dale.
Yes, we came, I guess the ship I was on came back probably that night, and I went aboard the Dale, and to this day I wondered what ever happened to the little whaleboat.
You just left it when
I left it somewhere when I went aboard that other destroyer, but to this day I can't answer that question. But it's a funny thing, during all of this that was going on, there are some things that are maybe blacked out in your mind to ease your pain, because there's some memories there that are kind of blacked out, but the majority of it, it was like yesterday.
Do you find that since the 50th anniversary that people of your generation have talked more about it than they ever did before?
Well, up until I joined the Pearl Harbor Survivors up here about 5 years ago, I didn't talk too much about it, because it was just, we had done our duty and so forth, and we were getting back into civilian life, got married, 2 children, moved to Los Angeles, and that was pretty much it. I was transferred again back to San Francisco, where I stayed for 25 years, and finally, the brewery closed up that I worked for, and I went into business for myself.
Name the brewery, I think this is.
Falstaff Brewing
Falstaff.
Company, yeah. They bought out a brewery in San Jose called the Whelan's Brewing Company.
John Whelan's,
Right,
my father's
John
favorite
Whelan's.
beer. What do you think is the most important thing that future generations should remember about Pearl Harbor? What's the lesson?
Kind of difficult. I live in an area where there are men in the 40s. I have a son that's 50, two sons that are 50, 52. They never seen the war. I have a lot of memorabilia that I show to some of my neighbors who show an interest to that period of my life. And they've seen this flag, and some of them are very interested in it, and some would care less. They didn't see anything. They were all doing well financially, and you know, the war was not in their life, in their fathers and grandfathers. And I know I ask a lot of children, not children, but young men, I said, well, what was your father doing in the war on December 7th? He says, well, my grandfather was there, because the years have just gone by, you know.
You have something, you brought something here to show us. You want to
Yes.
hold it up and explain what that is?
Yeah, you want, can I stand up? Yeah, this is a flag that was flying on the USS Dale on an infamous morning of December 7th, 1941. It has 48 stars, as you could see. And we used to fly after the war started. We would keep the flag up 24 hours a day. And that's why it got so ragged at the edges there. And also, it's a lot of smoke come from the stacks that sort of discolored it. And I've just kept it. Why I have it today, I don't know, but I have it, and it'll be 60 years come this December.
Thank you.
I'd probably give it to the Pearl Harbor Survivors Organization when I pass on, and put it in the War Memorial Building, maybe, if they want it.
I'm sure they do.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks a lot,
Okay,
Gene.
thank you.
Appreciate it.
Okay.
Oh, speaker. Yes, everybody out there is yelling, speaker. And watch your step.